The boat was drifting, not rocking, drifting tied by a tow cable and slowly pulling away from my dock while a man in an HOA polo barked, "We warned you," from the shoreline like he was leading a military op. I stood barefoot in boxers with a coffee mug in hand, blinking at the absurdity. 2 HOA enforcers were hauling off my pontoon like it was a stolen vehicle. What they didn't know, and what would turn this clown show into a full-blown disaster for them, was that I owned the lake. Not just the dock or the boat. The whole lake. The water, the fish, the access mine. So while they were trespassing, attempting theft, and committing unlawful interference, I just sipped my coffee and muttered, "This is going to be fun." It had started days earlier with a crumpled white envelope shoved under my door, stinking of cheap perfume and passive aggression. Inside was a notice from the HOA. My boat violated community standards and had to be removed in 48 hours. Signed by the president herself, Vivian Harwick, with a loopy signature that somehow screamed hostility. I figured it was a rookie mistake. The boat sat 20 feet off my own dock in water I paid property tax on. No way they'd try anything serious. But the next morning, Vivian herself marched up my walkway in a neon windbreaker with a clipboard like she was conducting a raid. "You received the notice?" she asked, scanning me like I was garden trash. I nodded, thinking it was a joke. "Your vessel," she said, "is not aesthetically consistent with the community." I stared at her. "It's beige." She grimaced. "Beige isn't in the HOA-approved lake palette, and it blocks my view from my yoga deck." That was it. The yoga deck. Neighbors had warned me Vivian began most mornings shouting affirmations at squirrels. Apparently, now my boat had become her new spiritual enemy. I told her calmly, as I adjusted the wrench on my smoker, that I owned the lake. Title and all. She laughed. "Then we'll see how you feel when it's towed." I genuinely thought that was the end of it. No way they'd go through with it. But they had gotten bold lately, fining people for flower pots, authorizing fake patrols, even citing a neighbor for excessive dog enthusiasm at a barbecue. So there I was, watching them steal my boat. I warned them they were trespassing. One of them shouted back, "We're acting under HOA authority." I walked inside, grabbed the deed folder from my safe, and returned. The moment I held it up, Vivian froze. One of the tow crew scanned it and said, Ma'am? He owns the lake." Vivian ripped it from his hands, scanned it, then shoved it back at me. "This doesn't mean anything. County deeds trump HOA rules," I replied. "Want the sheriff here in 15 minutes?" She flushed crimson and ordered her crew to untie the boat. I thought that would be the end. I was wrong. The next day, a neon sticker appeared on my mailbox, then another on my driveway, and, somehow, one even ended up on a duck near my dock. Yes, a duck. Labeled a violation. This wasn't enforcement. This was war. I called my friend Carly, a retired Coast Guard captain turned fishing charter badass. After hearing the story, she spit beer across the dock, laughing. "They tried to steal your boat off your lake." "Yep. Then it's time," she said. "We mobilize." By sunset, she'd gathered our team. Raj, a hydrology professor and water rights nerd who brought lake maps from the 80s. And Mia, a former HOA lawyer turned real estate crusader who wore designer sunglasses and sipped whiskey while filing lawsuits. We sat around my kitchen table while Vivian's patrols paced outside like wannabe soldiers. Raj traced the lake's original boundary, confirming my ownership down to the sediment. Mia nodded, confirming they were not only out of line, but criminally liable. Then came the drone. We watched it buzz over my pontoon, scanning like it was mapping for an airstrike. Vivian stood across the street, phone in hand, grinning like a Bond villain. Mia calmly walked to her car, returned with what looked like a pressure washer, and blasted the drone out of the sky. "That's a federal offense," Vivian screamed. "Then report it," Mia replied. "And I'll report you for illegal surveillance." The next morning, Vivian tried to enforce new rules: fake signs, dramatic warnings, and a laughable attempt at roping off part of the lake with buoys and an anchor the size of a soup can. She even labeled herself a lakefront enforcement officer in a vest so bright it could blind a bird. I decided to respond with a freedom float. Boats, jet skis, and a kid on a flamingo raft. Carly raised a pirate flag on a paddleboard right over Vivian's restricted zone. The fake barrier collapsed halfway through. Then the local news showed up. A reporter caught wind of Pontoon Gate trending after neighbors posted selfies with Vivian's signs. She interviewed me on the dock. I gave her everything: documents, photos, even the duck violation. When the story went live under the headline, "Man Owns Lake, HOA Loses Its Mind," it went viral. Within a week, 3 board members resigned. Vivian stopped showing up. But she wasn't done. A final notice appeared in my mailbox, complete with fake permits made in Canva. Raj laughed so hard he snorted. "There's a watermark," he pointed out. Mia began prepping a formal complaint: trespassing, defamation, and property interference. We filed it at the county clerk's office on a Monday. 2 days later, I watched a process server hand Vivian the envelope on her front porch. Her face shifted from smug to panicked in seconds. Then came the final blow. Raj, combing through old maps, discovered Vivian's koi pond and manicured lawn extended 10 feet onto my parcel. I filed a land use violation and gave her 2 options: remove the pond or pay an annual lease. She refused. But days later, I watched as landscapers drained her pond. She stood nearby, arms crossed, face frozen. She didn't look at me. I didn't need her to. The lake returned to peace. No patrols, no laminated threats, no drones. The neighbors changed too. They started waving again. One girl left me a drawing: a smiling beige boat with the words, "Captain Caleb saves the lake." I framed it next to the deed. I even formed a volunteer lake committee: no rules, just people helping people. Carly hosted cleanups. Raj set up water testing. Mia drafted a 1-page charter. It worked. Vivian sent one last note in loopy cursive: "I hope you're satisfied." I folded it into a bottle and tossed it in the lake. It floated back days later. Even the lake didn't want her bitterness. So I tossed it again, watched it disappear. Weeks later, a zoning official called. They'd seen the article, heard the story, and asked if I'd sit on a county board for HOA abuse reform. I said yes, because sometimes owning a lake isn't about power. It's about protecting peace from the people who think they own it all.